Security policy components. You got a policy statement. The reason for the policy, management's view. Reason for this policy, we're a responsible, respectable company that will do what the industry requires at a minimum. In fact, we seek to work better than the industry, and we are enhancing security. We are going to lock down our systems because we want to keep our data safe, protect our employees' jobs. We value our customers. There's a nice policy statement. Basically a bunch of blather. Pretty much every policy begins kind of that way, but it states management's objectives, what they want to see done. It's going to set standards, what the organization expects. Remember, standards are binding. You must follow them. Standards are routine and customary for your organization. You are expected to meet these standards. If you are below them, the organization's not happy. It isn't what they want. We don't have it on here, but I'm going to add in baseline. There may be a baseline stated. Now, quite often a policy will not state the baseline. That's a legislated or regulatory requirement to be at a certain minimum level. If you're below that, you're acting in a legal deficit. Quite often criminal or civil liability can come out of that. Now, an organization may not have a regulated baseline, but it has its own. Cannot bring a system online whose patches are more than 3 months old. Your patches, haven't patched your system in 3 months, can't be online. The standard is patches will be no more than 2 weeks out. So patch comes out, your system will have it within 2 weeks. Hopefully better than that, but you'll have it that quick. No system should be more than 2 weeks out of date. It takes into account someone going on holiday for 2 weeks, they come back, they immediately patch, they're still meeting the standard. They're gone an extended period, illness, they're still going to be above baseline. If they're not above baseline, they don't come on. Baseline is mandatory. You fall below it, can't operate. Standards are what are routine expected, mandatory, they're binding, you're supposed to be at it. Guidelines. Guidelines are optional. If you're in IT, these are called best practices. This is what you should be doing. You're not required to follow a best practice, but it makes a lot of sense. Industry leaders come up with them. They say, this is what works best. And I got to tell you, look at configuration management. The purpose for that is stability by having everything the same. I go in and do an audit. If you follow the industry standards, you're following best practices, I can be up and running in my audit, I can be looking at things, and I'm working that first day. My billable time is going to be short because I don't have a whole lot of ramp-up time. You do everything your own way. You're not following standards. You haven't followed best practices, the guidelines out there. I'm going to spend 3, 4, 5 days, a week figuring out what you've done. So you paid me a week to accomplish nothing. And then I can begin my work, and it's probably going to go slower because I have to keep on looking at how you did something. That doesn't make sense. Following those guidelines is beneficial, especially in an audit, especially an external audit. You want to follow them. Not binding, but it makes sense. And finally, procedures. Procedures are different from these other ones. These other ones are policy standards, how you go about what management wants. Procedures aren't what management wants. They're the step-by-step instructions to achieve what management wants. I love procedures. I think documenting them is critical. And not just because of the policy. No, I look at disaster recovery, to be honest. The sidereal advantages of documentation of procedures. If you have a disaster, you got a procedure manual, nearly anyone can bring your stuff up, including someone who doesn't have the skill set of your experienced employees. They can still bring it up because they have documented procedures. You're still operational. Now, day to day, the procedures help bring new people up to speed. Fantastic. Creates uniformity of operation. Everyone does things the same way because they're following the same procedures. That's beautiful. Stable, trusted, expected environment. And if you document them, someone else can come in, look at your procedures, and We audit for compliance to procedure. We want people doing what they say. No hypocrites allowed. You're not doing what you say you do, you're going to get dinged. You do what you say, beautiful. We can audit that. We can maintain compliance. We can see if things go wrong. Procedures are critical for proper auditing.